Rick Sky here, and this is how to pack for a backpacking trip. So a few things you want to do first, and what I always do, I clean everything out of my pack. I make sure there's obviously nothing in here. I even, if my pack's dirty, well, after the previous trip I always clean it, but if my pack's dirty, I clean it before I start packing it, because keep in mind, especially in bear country, if you might have had your pack around some raw meat or bacon, or maybe you ate breakfast and you had greasy hands and you touched it, those smells could be on the pack. So, you know, for that reason, I always start with a clean pack. One thing you always need, unless you specifically know where you're going does not have any water crossings, I carry these. I suspend them from the bottom of my pack using these carabiners. Now, these aren't climbing use carabiners, they're just standard carabiners, but that way they can drip dry while I hike on the trail. They're very small, they're very lightweight, but they're very padded on the bottom. So for a stream crossing, it's quick and easy to take off the socks and shoes and put those on. So the first thing we want to do is, number one, be aware of where we're going. You know, what is the expected weather? You know, what's the weather forecast? So weather can always change, so be prepared. In this case, it's probably only going to be maybe at most 35 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's nothing. Now for you, it may be intense. You know, that may seem really cold, but I'm used to camping, to backpacking in negative below zero temps. So this for me is not a big deal. So there's a lot of stuff I won't need, but one thing I will need, and see, I won't need these. These are my insulated pants. They have an 800 fill down. It's not going to be cold enough for those, so I'm going to leave those out. Always, when you store your sleeping bag, store it in a sack. Most sleeping bags are going to come with a sack, because you don't want to store it compressed. Because if you do, over time, your sleeping bag will lose its loft, and that's not good. I mean, that means you're going to lose the warmth. So we're going to take this bag out. I do have I've got a 30 degree and I've got a 0. This is a 0. Now, in really cold weather, I would take this in conjunction with it. This is and by the way, you can expand this video's description and click the link there to find everything, but this is a fleece liner. When I camp below 0, I put this in this bag and I'm perfectly warm. But it's not going to be cold enough for this trip, so I'm going to leave that out. One thing I always do is make sure, because my sleeping bag's been in storage, I take it inside out and I inspect it to make sure there aren't any spiders or anything in there. But actually I found something else. It looks like there's that's weird, it's like a burn. That's strange. It's like something on the inside burned. I don't know how that would have happened. Well, maybe when I was packing up, maybe there was a you know, a hot coal or something that flew up and got on this when it was on top of my tent. But that's strange. I would not have expected that. So the good thing is I have a patch kit, and I'm going to patch that up. So this was not scripted. That was just a discovery while I was doing this. So it's a good thing I did, because I want to repair it before it rips and releases some of the down on the inside. Because down's what keeps you warm, and if you're losing that, you know, you're not going to be as warm. But yeah, I thoroughly inspect this for spiders, any sort of bugs, because it has been in storage, and so that is something that I will need to address before it becomes a big hole. Everything else looks fine. I mean, that's pretty minor, but again, to take care of your gear, don't assume that it's going to remain okay. You know, go ahead and repair it, but making sure there's nothing else of significance here. But yeah, that's strange. There's a that kind of, but that's not enough for me to worry about. I'm going to go ahead and pack this, but when I return from this overnight trip, I am going to, not only am I going to take this out and clean it with a damp rag, but I'm also going to patch that inside up to prevent it from becoming a hole in the future. One thing you do though, always zip these up before I pack it. And see right there, there's a patch. So that's the type patch kit that I'm going to use on the inside. I use it on the outside. And you can expand this video's description and click the link there to find where to order it online. And also check out my separate video where I show step by step how to patch a down sleeping bag. So most sleeping bags, including this one, will come with a stuff sack. Some are compression sacks that compress them even more. When you put it in your stuff sack, you want to grab the foot in first, where your feet go. The reason is that the other end is open so air can escape. So it's going to make it easier to stuff. So get your stuff sack and just start stuffing it in here, man. This is a down sleeping bag. You can check out my separate video where I review it. But it's rated to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Now again, sleeping bag ratings, just because you see something that says 0, you're thinking, oh man, that's overkill. And this is a topic for another conversation, but just because a sleeping bag says 0 doesn't mean you're going to be optimally comfortable when it hits 0, if it hits 0 degrees. So with this, at 30 degrees, I'm going to be super warm, not even a least bit of a chill. But as I mentioned, when I'm sleeping, -5, -10 Fahrenheit, I use my fleece sleeping bag liner in conjunction with the 0. And the reason I do that, a lot of bags that are rated for the negative temps are very expensive, and a lot of them are pretty large even when they're compressed. So I think that this 0 degree bag is the perfect balance of warmth and also packability. I mean, it's not too big, it's not too heavy. It's as you can see here, it's easy to fit into the stuff sack that it came with. So we're just going to stuff this in. And again, as I mentioned earlier, never keep these compressed like this. Only compress them, I would say, the night or a couple days before your backpacking trip, because you don't want to leave them compressed if you care about taking good care of your gear. So I'm compressing it now because I'm getting it ready to pack. Something I always do, and something you may want to do, if you're going to be in a situation where there's a lot of possibility of falling in the water, you might would want to put an ultralight dry bag around your sleeping bag, because this stuff sack that it comes with, it's somewhat water resistant, but it's by no means waterproof. If this became submerged, water would get in your bag and potentially leave you with a very cold night. So always consider that. Consider putting your sleeping bag inside an ultralight dry bag stuff sack, or I shouldn't say dry bag stuff sack, I should say ultralight dry bag. And that'll just give you more peace of mind, because when you're out in the backcountry, especially 15-20 miles out, there's no turning around. So you got what you got, and when it gets down, if it's getting down below 0, you could be in a potentially fatal situation. So now what you're going to do is, as I mentioned, I've gotten everything out of the pack, I've cleaned it. I'm going to put the sleeping bag at the bottom. One of the reasons is the width is about the width of my pack. And the other thing is, I'm not going to get the sleeping bag out until I get to camp. So I can go ahead and put that in there. And it's at the very bottom. Now, the next thing I want to do, this right here is a luxury item. This is a chair, a backpacking chair. So again, if you're an ultralight backpacker, you're going to laugh at this, but if you want to do backpacking and you don't mind carrying a little bit of extra weight, this is going to result in a lot of extra comfort at the campsite. But keep in mind, most backcountry campsites, you can just find a tree stump. You can make something to sit on. So this is really silly to carry, but even though it's silly, I enjoy it. It's super comfortable, and I've got this huge backpack with extra room, so I'm going to take it. That's a luxury item. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out a phone, or you could use a piece of paper. I use my phone because I can pull it out once I reach my camp, and I know what's in what stuff sack. So first of all, I'm going to put in what I've packed as I packed it. So I packed the sleeping bag, I've packed the camp chair, and as we go through with this, I'm going to continue to keep an inventory, and then that way I know where everything is, and I can audit my list before I depart the morning of the backpacking trip. So this right here I'm not going to take out. This is a pair of rain pants and rain jacket. It's ultra light. I always take this. Number one, you never know when rain might pop up, and being cold and wet is miserable. So for that reason, I always take this, my rain gear, my rain pants, and my rain jacket. Both are ultra light. Doesn't take a lot of space. Doesn't add a lot of weight. So again, I'm going to add that to my inventory here. I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it rain gear because I know what that is. And then I'm going to notate blue stuff sack. So I know if it's coming down, I know I can dig through here. I can visually see the blue stuff sack, and I can be like, oh, that's my rain gear. That's what's in there. So I know exactly what's in the blue stuff sack. The next thing I'm going to get is, and this is a luxury item since we're doing this is just a basic, not too cold weather camp. So I'm going to use this tiny collapsible cooler to take some hot dogs. You're probably laughing at that, doing hot dogs. But you know, when you're doing a backpacking trip that's not really intense, it's you can take some of these luxury items like this. I'm going to have frozen. I freeze the hot dogs, and then in here with the hot dogs, I put some drinks. Like, let's see, where did I put all my drinks? I thought I brought them in here. Oh yeah, so like some sports drinks, I put these in there. Because those are good when you've had a long hike, you get to camp, you know, it's good to have, if you like a sports drink, to have that. So I have the sports drinks, and then I have the frozen hot dogs, and the frozen hot dogs will help to keep the sports drinks chilled. Because that adds to the morale, you know, when you've got a chilled drink. But this, I intentionally don't pack. It's not going to go in until the morning of, because I'm going to take the frozen hot dogs out and put them in. But I am going to put this beside my pack, so visually I remember not to forget it. The next thing is, and actually it's a good point, at the top of my list, I will put, at the top of my inventory here, I will put a reminder, pack frozen hot dogs and cooler. So that way I remember to put the frozen hot dogs in there and then pack the cooler. So now what we can do, now this is a topic of controversy. I take a water filter, but in the event that there's not, if the water for some reason is stagnant, there's been a drought, which that's not the case right now, but if there has been, it's always good to have at least a few bottles of water. Since we're doing a relatively short hike, I'm going to take an excessive amount of water. People would complain and say, man, why are you putting it in your pack? What if one ruptures, gets your sleeping bag and everything wet? Again, that's why it would be optimal to put your sleeping bag inside of an ultralight, an ultralight dry bag. But since I'm not worried, I'm taking a risk. I'm just putting those in there. But you want to distribute your weight. So if you are taking fluids are going to be some of the heaviest things. So just those 4 bottles of water, that's going to add a considerable amount of weight to my pack. Ideally, I would just purify as I went along the trail. So but I am going to inventory that. I did, let's see, I did 4 bottles of water. So I put that in there so I know it's packed. Yep, so I got 4 bottles of water, and now we're going to get into things we don't need. These right here are crampons. There's not going to be snow and ice, so those I'm going to leave out. Anytime I'm in the mountains though, I take those because you never know when there's going to be an overnight snow, but I feel very confident that's not going to happen. These are hiking poles, completely optional, but I like to have them. I'll put them in there. The bear spray, since this particular destination, I'm not going to be in bear country, I'm going to leave the bear spray out. When I'm in the bear country, I always have bear spray. This right here is it's my action camera, my GoPro, and then I've got some extra batteries for my Sony Alpha. So I'm taking it. That's super important to have, and I'm going to pack it towards the top. So I don't inventory this until I put it in the pack. This right here is a bag of cables. So I've got everything from USB-C to Apple Watch charger to micro USB, every type of device. And this right here is for my flashlight. I've got it. I'm going to put it in with the charging cables. So anything that I use, I can recharge at camp, or if I need to on the trail while I'm hiking, I could put it in my pack and charge it. This right here is super important, a flashlight that is charged, and again, I've got the charger for the flashlight. Very important to have that. So we're going to put, and then this right here is a headlamp, which is charged, and it is USB-C rechargeable, which I do have the USB-C charging cable. What I don't have, and what I'm going to set a reminder to pack, is my solar battery bank, because I recharge these with a USB solar battery bank. So like I put a reminder to pack frozen hot dogs and cooler, I'm going to put a reminder in here to pack solar battery bank, solar USB battery bank. Because that would be not good to not have that. I mean, especially in a situation where you may be in new territory and you don't know the trails. You know, I use my iPhone for my GPS. Obviously, I've got a compass and traditional maps as well, topographical maps. But it's always good to be able to recharge. Let's see. So this right here, chocolate. These little things are really good. I like to take some chocolate. These little meat sticks are good. And some gummy worms. I mean, this is crazy stuff, but you know, that's my little food stash. So I'm going to put this bag right here, I'm just going to call it lime green, and I'm going to say chocolate, beef stick, and gummy worms. Chocolate, beef stick, gummy worms. This is my food bag. Lime green, chocolate, beef stick, gummy worms. And all of those are packed. I would never put anything inside the pack that was not packed, because it could have an odor, and it could add odor to my gear, and it could attract bears. Again, bears for this particular destination are not a concern, but it's good to know. Now this I'm going to keep out with my cooler, because I am going to add just a few more snacks in there. And then I've got this right here is important. So this is an ultralight dry bag. Now what I have in here, I've got a pair of spare wool socks, I've got a pair of dry underwear, and I have just a hiking top, long sleeve, and hiking pants. This is important that it's in a dry bag, because if, let's say I was crossing a stream, fell in the water, this will probably not get wet. So I'm going to make sure it's properly sealed, and boom, it's got a little window so I can see what's in there. But I'm still going to inventory it, like everything I put in the pack. So I'll say yellow window, and I'll just say socks, underwear, long sleeve shirt, and pants. So that's a dry pair of clothes right there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in, because that's important to have. And since it's in that ultralight dry bag, it should say dry. Now something I do need to add is in these hot dog buns, again, real backpacking, you're going to carry dehydrated food like I always do. But for an easy backpacking trip, I'm going to tie these on the outside of the pack. Why not, you know? This right here is an important bag. I've got this, which is a stove. Now, just having a stove is not good enough. You got to have fuel. What I always do, I'll write the date on my fuel when I purchased it, and if I've used it on a trip, I don't want to be wasteful, but I notate that it's been used. This one's been used. I've used it for 2 nights cooking freeze-dried food. So it's got a good bit of fuel in it, and it's I know it's got enough, but if I was going on a long trip, I would definitely start with a fresh thing of fuel. And here I have my air horn. This is important for bear country. If something approaches your tent, you can do a burst with this. The noise will probably scare the bear away. This right here is a pocket chainsaw. I can't recommend this enough. Check out my separate video. You can see me reviewing it. It's just really cool for sawing up deadfall. Very efficient, and it's very lightweight in your pack. Also in here I have, never leave, going to the backcountry without it, paracord. I got brightly colored paracord. And then I've got, this right here is a bear alarm. Very high decibel, but you can put fishing line up, and if anybody, an animal or somebody trips over this, it'll pull it apart and activate the alarm, so you'll be notified that there's somebody present. Got a good knife. Got lighters. Always make sure your lighters have fuel. Don't take just one lighter. And then I've got some hand sanitizer and some matches. You know, nothing too special. But also, and it's permanently attached on the inside of my pack, I have a magnesium fire starter, because you never want to be unable to start a fire. So this right here, this orange bag, this has all of this kind of stuff in my stove. So I'm going to put that in my pack here. I just added it to the inventory so I know. And then, obviously, you're going to need... oh, my air horn fell out of that. Put that back in there. This is optional, but I like having a pillow. This pillow you can inflate, obviously, while it's not in use. Just like the sleeping bag, I don't keep it compressed. So what I'll do is I'll open this up. It has an integrated stuff sack. And this is very small, very lightweight. Again, a luxury item, because if you're doing ultralight backpacking, you would probably just roll up some of your clothes and put them in a stuff sack and make a pillow out of that. But this is extremely comfortable, and you know, I'm gonna add the extra travel size and weight for enhanced comfort. Because with this, I mean, I sleep great, and you know, why not? Why not take it? So I put that in there. Of course, going to update my inventory so I know I put the pillow in. So I got that in there. Yep, so I updated my inventory for that. And now, unless you want to sleep on the ground, you're probably going to want to take a tent. It's just me and a friend, so we got our own tents. So I'm going to take my one-person tent. If I go with my wife or something, I'll take a 2P. I've got a 2-person version of the same tent. So this I could attach to the bottom, or I can put it on the inside. Actually, what I'm going to do, and I probably should have put this in before I started putting the other stuff in, but I'm going to put it in facing up. So I'm going to put it in over here. And yeah, there's plenty of room. So I'll put that in there. Like I said, I could lash it to the bottom. When I'm doing multi-night backpacking, I'll put it on the bottom so I've got more space in here. But so lights, headlamp, and then also just a handheld flashlight. I'm going to put those in my top zippered compartment. So I'll put those in here. And I'll notate flashlights top zippered, because you don't want to question whether or not you pack something, and when you need it, you want to know where to go to get it. So I'll say top zippered flashlights. If I want to be more specific, I could say headlamp and handheld, but I know what I've got. So let's see, this is optional. This is an inflatable sleeping pad. Again, another luxury item, but it's super comfortable. It's fairly small, fairly lightweight. I'm going to take it. But again, I mentioned that's a luxury item because that's not something you'd have to take. Now, here I've got some stuff. I've got a little body wipe. Basically, get to the campsite and it's like taking a sponge bath. Feels really good. Never want to leave without this. This is a bellows. You can accelerate wood burning with this. You blow on it. It not magnifies. It focuses the when you're blowing. If you're blowing with the mouth, it's different because what this does is make it a very small space, so the wind that you blow is more intense. This is cheating. This is lightweight, but always take one, especially when it's wet. Fire starter log. You could also use, there's some really ultralight fire starting things you can get now too, but that's what I use. It's small and lightweight enough. Again, that's a luxury item, but it's something I can take. Now, also going to need, always take water purification. There's a bunch of different kits. You can check out my separate video where I review the Sawyer. I've been all over the Smoky Mountains with this. I've drank water. I've used water to cook all of my food. Never had any problems with upset stomach. And then this right here is super important. This is a pot, but it collapses. So it doesn't take up a lot of volume in the pack. I've also got a drinking cup inside of this. So that's nice. Very small, very lightweight. And then I've got, in here I've got some work gloves for gathering wood so I don't get poison ivy or poison oak. Now obviously you could get it on the glove and then transfer it to yourself, but this this gives me peace of mind. I don't cut my hands or anything when I'm doing that. So that's everything at a high level. Now obviously, for defense, that's up to you. Topic of potential controversy. What is your PDW? What is your PDW of choice? I know what mine is. Again, I'm not taking bear spray because I'm not going to be where bears are prevalent. But if I was, I would always take bear spray. But I'm just going to take, a PDW of my choice. And again, be sure that it's allowed where you're going, because that's it's important to be aware of the rules and regulations wherever your backpacking destination may be. So I will need a jacket. This right here is heavy. I've got a lighter weight jacket that I'm going to pack. And layers are always best, because when you're hiking especially, you're probably going to warm up even when it's cold out. So what I like to do is use, this right here is a little vest. So I like it, and it's made out of, let's see, what is this? I think this is old school, and it may have been before they had Polar Tech, but I like Polar Tech a lot. Very lightweight, very breathable, and if it gets wet, it seems to dry quickly. So for this particular trip, it's not going to be that cold. Again, 30 degrees or so Fahrenheit, which to a lot of people, you may say, yeah, that's really cold. But when you're used to backpacking like I am, you know, a 30-degree Fahrenheit temp is not anything serious at all. So with that being said, I'm just going to wear a pair of hiking pants. I like Marmot and Mountain Hardwear. I just think their materials are good, the fit's nice, and they hold up well on the trail. And these I've had for many years. So I'm going to take one of my pair of pants. I think those are Mountain Hardwear, but I've got Marmot as well. I wear them pretty much interchangeably. I don't preference one over the other. And then I'm going to use let's see. You can wear whatever you want to. I like bright colors because if you did get lost in the woods, it makes you more visible. So those pants are kind of camouflaged. My shirt, bright yellow. I will take, gotta find my belt, man. Find my belt. Where'd I put my belt? I've got a belt that's got RECO, which is avalanche rescue. So when I'm in mountainous regions, if there was an avalanche, it would better enable the rescue people to find me because the belt would send a signal of sorts, or it would be detected by their equipment, I should say. I'm going to take a pair of socks. I like these, you know, wool socks the best. They dry quickly and they're very warm. So I'm going to take a pair of wool socks. As mentioned, I've already got a pair of wool socks to change into in case I want to change or in case they get wet. So I've got, this is my belt. This is RECO. It says Advanced Rescue Technology. So just a way for rescuers using their equipment to maybe better be able to find you. So that's what I'm going to wear out tomorrow. I'm going to wear the hiking pants, the short sleeve. That's actually a Marmot shirt, good material. You know, it gets wet, it dries quickly. Wool socks, my avalanche rescue belt, although not necessary for this particular trip. It's nice to have that on there. And then a vest, and then I'm going to have a fleece. I need a fleece. A fleece, and then a lightweight down jacket. Because again, it's not going to be that cold. Let me get a fleece out of here. I keep everything in this bag. This is kind of my bag when I go to the mountains and stuff I take. So this right here is a good fleece pullover. So I'll have it for the night, and then in addition to it, I will take a lightweight down jacket. Again, lightweight because it's not going to be that cold. Yeah, so this is a down jacket, but it's not, I mean, it's not a thick down jacket, but I mean, it's still very warm. So for 30 degrees, this will be more than warm enough. So I got that. I can take a hoodie, I mean a thing for my head, which I will. This right here I use in extreme temps when it was -5 and it was very warm. That would be overkill for this trip. I'd look like an idiot. So I will just take, let's see. Well, and I've got a neck warmer. I shouldn't need that. I've got gloves. And I've got thermal underwear, which shouldn't need that. But yeah, I will take just a little beanie for my head, keep my head warm. But yeah, so extra pair of clothes, tent, sleeping bag, stuff to start fire with. Obviously, you need to take food. Again, I would typically use freeze-dried meals. I would purify my water from a stream, boil it, and then put that in the food to rehydrate it so I can eat it. And typically, I wouldn't pack all this bottled water. Take a few bottles of water, because you don't want to be in a situation to where you maybe couldn't find a water source, or maybe it's dried up when you get there. You need to have some water. So my rule of thumb is pack all the essentials, kind of put your pack on, see how heavy it feels. If you feel like you could comfortably add more weight, it's never a bad idea to add more fluids and to add more snacks, because even if you don't eat them, you can bring them back and, you know, enjoy them some other time. So it's good to utilize that extra space and weight if you want to, not required. But again, things that I will pack my solar battery bank, solar USB battery bank. As I mentioned, it's charging right now. That's why I didn't go ahead and throw it in. But I've got it on my reminder on my phone. So I recommend you do that. You know, set a checklist. That way you know everything you have packed, everything you need to pack. These clothes that I've picked out that I'm going to wear to the trail and hike in, they're set aside and they'll be in the bathroom. So when I get ready, I don't have to put any thought into it. I know what I've got. And then, you know, as necessary on the trail, if it's cold, I can add a layer. I can take a layer off. In this scenario, I've got the base layer, which is short sleeve shirt, and then I've got the fleece or the vest, and then I've got the fleece, and then I've got the lightweight down jacket. So more than enough warmth for a 30-ish degree overnight backcountry trip. So, but again, know where you're going, have plenty of gear, because when I'm doing negative zero, below zero, I'm taking a lot heavier jacket, a lot heavier pants. You know, I'm taking my insulated down pants, taking you know, extra warm stuff. But pack for what you need, and when it's not as cold, typically your pack's not going to be as heavy because you don't have to carry as much extra gear. So this is going to be a lightweight pack, which means I can probably comfortably get by carrying the water that I put in there, and then also comfortably get by taking the sports drinks that I have, and then the frozen hot dogs. And I mean, it's still going to be somewhat heavy, but I mean, at least I'll have everything I want to be comfortable and, you know, and really enjoy the overnight backcountry trip. So plan ahead, keep an inventory. You know, don't forget to charge your equipment. If you're taking cameras like I do, be sure the batteries are charged ahead of time. Take extra batteries if you got them. And, you know, definitely a USB solar battery bank, so you've got renewable recharging capability in the backcountry. And then, of course, all the cables that you use, if you use Apple Watch, if you use maybe some of your devices are USB-C, some are micro USB. If you're still using an iPhone with Lightning, if that's still a thing at the time of watching this video, be sure you got a charging cable for that. So all your charging cables, your PDW, you know, if you want to protect yourself, you know, whatever you may be allowed to carry there, that's important. And extra pair of clothes. You know, you always need a dry pair of clothes, and in addition to that, ultralight rain gear. Now, when I do extreme temperature backpacking in the mountains, I've got a very heavy, it's like a raincoat, but it's very heavy material. It's called a shell, and I'll wear that, and then I'll layer down underneath it. That's what I did for Maury Ridge at about 5,000 feet, and that's when it was -5 or -10. So with that, I was able to stay warm and dry because it was snowing continuously. But the shell kept, you know, kept all of the wetness off of me, and then the down underneath, I mean, I was perfectly warm. So anyway, that's how to pack a backpack. Tell me what you think within the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe. And when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. And check out my backpacking videos playlist. I've got a ton of backpacking videos now, tons more coming soon. And if there's anything particular that you would like to see, just comment below and I'll try to whip up a video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Irix Guy here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.